Let's start with what most people are too afraid to say out loud. In October 2023, as the world reacted to a brutal wave of violence between Israel and Gaza, Jordan Peterson tweeted, "Give them hell. Netanyahu." The backlash was immediate, but so was the silence on deeper questions. In this conversation, journalist and independent analyst Marcus Delano sits across from Peterson not to argue, but to dissect the psychology behind our moral instincts and the devastating cost of unchecked rhetoric. Instead of focusing on blame or defense, Marcus challenges Peterson to explore what leads individuals and nations to justify destruction under the banner of justice. This isn't about politics, it's about the mindset, motivation behind our choices, our silence, and our rage. If you've ever felt torn between outrage and uncertainty between your values and your tribe, this episode is for you. Stay through the next sections where we dive into conformity, courage, and the personal cost of believing blindly. And before we go further, drop a comment. Do you think words can trigger real-world consequences? Let's start the conversation right here. The weight of words and the war within. We live in a time where outrage is instant, but accountability is optional. When Jordan Peterson tweeted, "Give them hell," Netanyahu, the internet exploded. But what was missed, what's always missed, is the deeper cost. Not the tweet, not the headline, but the mindset that justifies destruction when we feel morally certain. It's easy to stand on one side and throw stones. It's much harder to ask, what am I really supporting when I stay silent, or when I cheer for power to do what I wouldn't dare do myself? That's the first shift we need to talk about, the mindset behind action. Because mindset motivation isn't just about staying positive or pushing through your goals. It's about training your mind to take full ownership of your beliefs, your influence, and your blind spots. And in moments like these, where lives are on the line and truth is buried beneath agendas, mindset becomes your only compass. Peterson didn't just express support. He triggered a conversation about how the Western world views justice, war, and responsibility. But let me ask you this. How often do you question the moral ground you're standing on? How often do you examine your reaction to violence when it aligns with your side of the argument? Most people don't, because it's easier to sit in comfort than it is to walk through the fire of self-examination. Here's the hard truth. Words are not weightless. When you have a voice and you choose to use it, you are accountable for where that voice leads. And when you stay quiet, when you opt out, that's not neutrality. That's permission. Silence. When others suffer is not compassion. It's convenience. You might say, but I'm not in power. I'm just one person. That's the exact reason this matters, because wars don't start with bombs. They start with people surrendering their judgment, one thought at a time. They start when everyday citizens decide it's safer to echo than to evaluate, when they choose identity over inquiry. That's how truth dies quietly in the mouths of those who refuse to ask better questions. So, what's the solution? It starts with personal discipline, with developing a mindset that values reflection over reaction, with asking before you repost, before you speak. Am I contributing to clarity or to chaos? That's mindset motivation. Not just showing up to the gym, not just grinding through the workday, but showing up in conversations that test your principles. Showing up when your voice can make a difference even if it's unpopular. Look at the last time you took a stand. Was it informed or was it inherited? Was it bold or was it just trending? Be honest. Drop your answer in the comments. This isn't about blame. It's about becoming someone who doesn't flinch when the world gets loud, because that's where leadership begins. And in part 2, we'll break open the illusion of ideological safety, the kind that keeps you loyal to your side, even when it's costing you your soul. The trap of tribal thinking. Let's talk about comfort. The kind that doesn't look like a warm bed or a calm life. I'm talking about the comfort of fitting in, of knowing you're saying what your group approves of being on the right side, not because you've wrestled with the truth, but because the people around you agree. That's the new currency. Not facts, not principle, conformity. And that's where most people stop thinking. Because when you belong to a tribe, political, social, ideological, it feels safe. It feels like purpose. But there's a cost. And that cost is your clarity. Because tribal thinking rewards loyalty, not truth. And when truth threatens the tribe turns on truth. We've seen it. People who once had platforms silenced overnight. Not because they lied, but because they questioned the wrong narrative. People who were celebrated yesterday, canceled today for daring to think differently. That's not justice. That's fear disguised as morality. And the scariest part, it's easy to join in. It feels righteous to condemn. It feels powerful to belong to a movement. But ask yourself, when was the last time you changed your mind in public? When was the last time you admitted, I don't know, or I got it wrong? Most people never do. Not because they're dishonest, but because they're afraid. Afraid of losing followers. Afraid of being misunderstood. Afraid of standing alone. But that's where real mindset motivation lives. Not in the applause, but in the silence. In the moments where it's just you and your conscience. Where you choose to think clearly even if it costs you comfort. Because clarity is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your own contradictions. It demands that you hold your side accountable with the same energy you give your enemies. That's rare. That's hard. And that's what we need more of. You want real strength. It's not in volume, it's in vision. The kind of vision that cuts through slogans and sees the truth no one wants to face. The kind that says, I will not lie to protect my side. That's a rare courage, but without it, your voice is just an echo. So how do we escape the trap? You start by listening more than you preach. You question what you've been told, even by the people you agree with. You trade reaction for reflection. You don't just fight for your beliefs. You refine them. You audit your own mind. And yes, that will make you unpopular in some circles, but it will make you powerful within yourself. So here's your challenge. Write down one belief you've never questioned because it felt too safe to doubt. Then dig into it, test it, be honest. Drop it in the comments if you're bold enough, because mindset motivation isn't about winning debates. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need a crowd to feel certain, someone who leads when others follow, who stands when others sway. And in part 3, we're going further into the performance of virtue and how it's become a weapon in modern identity. If you're ready to look even deeper, I'll meet you there. The performance of virtue and the loss of self. Let's get honest. Some of the loudest voices out there aren't speaking from conviction. They're performing, wearing their morality like a costume. Virtue has become a brand now. Say the right things, post the right hashtags, show just enough outrage and you'll be praised. But real virtue, it's quiet, it's inconvenient, it doesn't always trend. We've turned identity into a weapon. Your politics, your background, your group. Those things have become shields people hide behind. Not to protect their values, but to avoid responsibility. It's easier to say, I'm on the right side than to actually be someone of depth, honesty, and principle. But when your beliefs are built on performance, you become hollow. You say what they want to hear, not what you truly think. And eventually you stop knowing the difference. Mindset motivation isn't about posturing. It's about peeling away the layers, getting to the truth underneath the noise. And sometimes that truth is ugly. Sometimes it makes you uncomfortable. But you face it anyway because that's what growth demands. Let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself saying something just to look good? Have you ever supported a cause you didn't fully understand just because everyone else was shouting about it? That's not evil, that's human. But staying there, that's a problem. That's how people lose their moral compass slowly, subtly. One compromised belief at a time. You want to live with clarity. You want to be free. Then stop curating yourself. Stop bending to fit into whatever identity the world hands you. Because the truth is identity. Politics has created a generation more concerned with looking righteous than living with integrity. We need to remember, character isn't about being right. It's about being real. It's not about winning arguments. It's about asking better questions. That's the mindset we've lost. That's the muscle most people never train, but you're not most people. You're still here, still listening, which means there's a part of you that's hungry for something deeper. So here's your next step. Stop signaling. Start showing. Let your life speak louder than your words. Do the right thing, especially when no one's watching, because that's where self-respect is born. And if you're ready for a real challenge, ask yourself, where in my life am I pretending to be someone I'm not? Write it down. Own it. And if you're bold, share it in the comments. Let's make this space honest, not performative, because that's where mindset motivation lives. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. When you choose integrity over applause, truth over image, and depth over performance. In Part 4, we're closing strong with the call to reclaim your voice, your power, and your ability to lead from the inside out. You won't want to miss it. Reclaiming power starts with personal clarity. We've talked about war words and the weight of ideology. We've broken down conformity, performance, and moral posturing. But now we arrive at the part most people run from the mirror, because no system, no side, no belief will save you. If you don't know who you are, you want power. Then start by reclaiming your mind. Because in a world addicted to division, your greatest act of rebellion is to think clearly, speak honestly, and live deliberately. That's what mindset motivation is all about. Not self-help slogans, not emotional hype, but inner sovereignty. Knowing that even when the world tries to bend you into a version of itself, you remain rooted in truth. And that truth is this: power doesn't come from outrage. It doesn't come from popularity. It doesn't come from aligning with the loudest voices. It comes from discipline. The discipline to say no when it's easier to go along. The discipline to think deeper when everyone else is distracted. The discipline to live in alignment with your values even when it hurts. Because if you're not willing to stand alone for what you believe, you were never standing in the first place. So let me ask you, where have you given away your power? Was it to social pressure, to political noise, to fear of being misunderstood? That's how it happens, you know. Not all at once, but piece by piece. You ignore your intuition to keep peace. You bite your tongue to avoid judgment. You shrink your questions so you can stay liked. And eventually you forget what your voice sounds like, but you can get it back. It starts with one decision: to stop outsourcing your clarity, to stop waiting for someone else to think for you, speak for you, or give you permission to live boldly. You already have everything you need. What you lack isn't power, it's permission. And you don't need anyone to give it to you. You grant it to yourself the moment you stop betraying your conscience for comfort. That's why this series matters, because it's not just commentary, it's a confrontation with the culture, with the crowd, and most of all with yourself. You want to change the world. Start with the only place you actually control your mind. Master that, and no system can enslave you. No ideology can own you. No movement can use you without your consent. This is the edge, right here, where you decide, do I live as a reflection of the world around me, or do I become the cause of the change within it? If you've made it this far, you're not like most people. You're ready. So here's your final challenge. Write down the one place in your life where you've abandoned your power and reclaim it. Don't just think about it. Speak it. Act on it. Let that be your first real step toward a life of conviction, not compromise, and drop it in the comments. Make it public, not for attention, but for accountability, because that's where true mindset motivation begins. Not with noise, not with slogans, but with one clear decision to stop being shaped and start shaping. This is where your real power starts. Let's bring this full circle. You've just walked through conflict, contradiction, and the uncomfortable truths most people avoid. You've seen how ideology can blind, how performance can replace principle, and how silence can become complicity. But the biggest lesson isn't about politics or protest. It's about you. About the choices you make when no one's watching. About the beliefs you carry that either sharpen your clarity or rot your courage. This isn't just a video, it's a wake-up call. a demand that you stop living on autopilot and start leading yourself. That's what mindset motivation really means. It's not surface-level optimism. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's about developing the inner discipline to confront reality, to think beyond the noise, and to act with truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you. So here's the challenge. Take one belief, one behavior, one area where you've been hiding and face it. No more pretending. No more waiting for permission. Drop it in the comments. Say it out loud. Let this be the moment you stop performing and start becoming. And if this message hits something real inside you, don't just scroll on, share it. Start the conversation. Subscribe for more content that refuses to stay shallow, because mindset motivation begins the moment you choose discomfort over deception and choose truth over approval. This is your moment. Claim it.